Recently, in Uzbekistan's capital of Tashkent, This is America and the World attended the International Conference, Central and South Asia, Regional Connectivity, Challenges and Opportunities. Hosted by Uzbekistan's President, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the conference attracted high-profile guests from the region, including the President of Afghanistan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, and foreign ministers, diplomats, and delegations from Uzbekistan's neighboring countries, the United States, China, Russia, Iran, and countries throughout the world. The goal of the event was to facilitate dialogue among the countries in the region, to explore and promote potential economic cooperation, and to assess the opportunities and the challenges for peace in Afghanistan. On this program, we explore two unique insights and perspectives about the future of Afghanistan. I'll speak with Afghanistan's former Minister of Foreign Affairs and with the senior executive editor of the National Herald Tribune in Pakistan. Underwriting for This is America and the World is made possible by the Japan-America Society of Washington, D.C., the Republic of Uzbekistan, the Sultanate of Oman, the Kingdom of Morocco, the National Association for Children of Addiction, Faces and Voices of Recovery, the Forerunner Foundation, the Rotondaro Family Trust, and the Embassy Series, Uniting People Through Musical Diplomacy. Former Afghan Foreign Minister Salahuddin Rabbani is now leading one of the major political parties seeking participation in the peace process. He's the son of the former president of Afghanistan who was assassinated in 2011. Excellency, good to be with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Dennis.
Tell me a little bit, as you look at Afghanistan, what do you see?
At the moment, it's a bit confused environment on the one hand, but on the other hand, of course, there are challenges and there are threats to the overall. But at the same time, I also see resolve and determination on the part of a nation to bring peace and stability to Afghanistan, to work for peace and stability.
Is there a difference between what the government wants, what the people want, and what the Taliban want?
I don't know for the Taliban, but as far as I'm concerned about the people, yes, people want peace and stability. After 4 decades of conflict and war, they deserve peace and stability. It's something that they have been seeking for quite some time. The post 2001 Afghanistan was an Afghanistan where most of the Afghans returned from abroad. They participated in the elections, in 3 or 4 elections now. They accepted, they welcomed the democratic institutions, free speech, women's rights. We saw a growing number of women going to schools and colleges and universities. We saw a new generation of youth who were just like any other youth anywhere in the world, wanted to have a peaceful life, educate, and work for their country. But at the same time, of course, we also had a war going on the one side. Of course, at different level of intensity, but there was, of course, another group who slowly became stronger, and here we are now. Unfortunately, despite all the efforts to bring peace and stability, we are still seeking for peace and stability in Afghanistan. We, of course, exactly because everyone came to this conclusion that there is no solution except for a negotiated solution to the Afghan problem.
Who should be sitting at the table to achieve some kind of peace in Afghanistan?
Well, I can say from the Republic side, of course, I belong to a political party who had and who still has reservation on the composition and the way the peace negotiations were carried out right after the September 12th last year, after the inauguration in Doha. We think that the team that was appointed to go and negotiate with Taliban was a weak team, a team that had no authority and no decision-making authority. So and it was again, of course, right from the beginning mentioned by the government that this team does not have the negotiating authority. This team has, this team has, they will negotiate, but it does not have the decision-making authority. So it gave this impression to the Taliban that it is, a team we will not, talk to, or they didn't take it seriously. But at the same time, on the part of Taliban, we really didn't see any serious attempt to start negotiations.
What are we getting wrong, and what can move the process forward? Well,
maybe, of course, you are a democratic system. Your country has decided to pull out your troops from Afghanistan. We, of course, respect your decision. The American people have supported us. The American government have supported us. We appreciate that. However, I think the way the United States withdrew its forces from Afghanistan was, if to say the least, it wasn't a prudent way to withdraw the forces from Afghanistan.
And President Bush agrees with that.
I think not only President Bush, but many other eminent American personalities, Afghan experts, former ambassadors, former generals, they all agree with President Bush.
But President Biden, who holds the cards, who has experience in world affairs, said basically 20 years, enough is enough.
Yes, of course, it's what President said, and I have nothing to say on what he said. Again, as I said...
You don't agree, and that's fair. That's fair.
Of course, this withdrawal could have been in a different way.
Over another 2 years?
No, not at all. At least you could have, if we had seen some progress on the peace front, then it could have been a different...
Tie the two of them together.
Exactly. Or, we have to, here, of course, doesn't mean that an immediate troop withdrawal or a 2 years withdrawal. I think we should have accepted some, first of all, if I may say it, and then, the negotiations that took place with Taliban by the Americans, the Afghan government was excluded from them, from those negotiations. The best thing would have been that it had, the government was somehow, brought into the room as well. Unfortunately, after the negotiations, and I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time that a superpower is signing a peace agreement or a withdrawal agreement. I don't know what do Americans call it, but a withdrawal agreement with a non-state actor or an insurgency group. Do you have any example of this? I think the 1972 or 73 Paris peace talks between the Vietnamese and this. I don't know if that is that was.
Do you
is
think
an example or any other thing? But I really don't know. But
do you think that President Trump, maybe naively, was looking for a deal?
Again, yes, he was.
Yes.
He wanted for a deal, and he wanted something to be done quickly. And of course, it was an American decision, and I have to say nothing about it.
But you have. But what message do you have for the American government, the American people, to see what's going on in Afghanistan with fresh eyes and an open mind? Please.
First of all, we are grateful for the support of the United States to our people. The United States has been on the, supporting the people of Afghanistan 2 times in its recent history. First time in our struggle against international communism during the Cold War, and then against the international terrorism. In the second phase, the United States was actively involved. They came to Afghanistan. They helped us both in terms of their treasure and blood. They spent their treasure and blood in Afghanistan, for which we thank them. But in order to see those achievements that we have gained in the last 20 years not go in waste, I think it is important for the American government to make sure that this peace process succeeds, and that we have a democratic system in Afghanistan acceptable to all communities living in that country. Because unless we don't focus on that, a system that is acceptable, or if we don't found a system that's acceptable to the people of Afghanistan, peace and stability will not come. We are ready to sit with Taliban. As you mentioned, I have lost my father, but at the same time, I continued his path, and I believed in peace and negotiations. Even if Taliban think that they can succeed, that success will be very short-lived, because people will again raise, people will again resist, because if they impose their will on the people and they impose a system that is not acceptable to the people of Afghanistan, peace will not return to the country. So what I would like to say is that United States, as a friend of Afghanistan, should make sure that it stands on the side of the people of Afghanistan and supports in bringing a system that is acceptable to the people of Afghanistan by encouraging Taliban to come to the negotiating table and making sure that these negotiations succeed.
Sometime down the road, would you like to be president of Afghanistan?
Well, I want to serve Afghanistan at any capacity. For me, really, the aim is not to become, the president. If I can serve Afghanistan and bring some change, some positive change, and contribute towards that positive change, that's a big thing for me. We have a really a society that has seen nothing but war for the last 42 decades. So, I would like to serve them in any capacity. I will leave that to the people of Afghanistan. Should time come, and should they take the decision, I will respect their decision.
And they would be in good hands with you.
Well, thank you.
Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Khalid Taimur Akram, Lieutenant Colonel retired, is the Executive Director of the Center for Global and Strategic Studies in Pakistan. When you look at Central Asia, what do you see?
I see history, I see culture, I see connectivity.
Where does Pakistan fit into the area?
Actually, if you go back to history, you will see that people in Pakistan, now Pakistan, they got their religion from this part of the world. The Islam traveled from Central Asia to subcontinent. And our history goes back many thousand years back. And most of the Pakistani people are the direct descendants of the Uzbek blood. If you see the migration of the Mughal emperors from this part of the world to that part of the world. So Pakistan, culturally, religiously, and by the way of traditions, is very well connected to Central Asia and especially Uzbekistan.
We're at a conference, the two of us,
Yes.
and many other people.
Yeah.
Central Asia and South Asia. What's the connection?
Central Asia and South Asia, they have been separated since Second World War, I would say. In the South Asian territory, it was the British colonial rule, and in the Central Asia side, it was the Russian Iron Curtain. So now that Iron Curtain has been raised 30 years ago, and Pakistan and India, they got independence almost 75 years ago. So now I think it's high time that again we should go back to our roots, and again the Central Asia and South Asia should connect itself as it was before.
Is that possible?
Yes.
When you look at the troubles in Afghanistan, where does that fit into the picture?
I consider that Afghanistan trouble is not a permanent trouble. It has been projected wrongly in the international media. The Afghan situation can be controlled only if the people of this region sit together and decide the fate of Afghanistan. The Afghanistan fate should be decided within the Afghanistan, not in the outside world.
Who should be sitting at the table?
The regional countries and the Afghan leadership and all factions of Afghan communities.
What do you think the people in Afghanistan want?
They only want that they should be allowed to exercise their votes. They only want that they should be allowed to govern their country as whatever they feel like. So the point is that why should we practice any of the model in Afghanistan? Why shouldn't we allow them to have their own model of the government, whatever they want? But yes, of course, with the parameters of the international standards and of the United Nations, of course, they have to stick to the international and United Nations rules and regulations, declare all those organizations which are terrorists, which are declared by the United Nations as terrorist, and not to support and not to allow their land to be used against any of the foreign country.
The perception in the West, certainly, is that the Taliban is a terrorist organization. Do you agree?
No, because we have to, make a difference between, let's see who Taliban are. Taliban can be name of a political party. I would say a religio-political party. It can be, why don't we start treating them as a political force rather than as a terrorist force? If we make them, because it was United States which had initiated the peace agreement with them. We saw the high official of the United States sitting with Taliban in Qatar in Doha. If they were terrorists then, why did United States sit with them? So it has to be, the world, the West must not change their statements every day. Because on one end, in February, you are signing agreements with them. And now in July, you are saying that they are terrorists. So we must differentiate what is terrorism, what is the religio-political parties. Because we may call Taliban as a religio-political party. And yes, I totally agree with this thing that we must draw lines for them, that these are the lines, these are the red lines which must not be crossed.
What are the lines?
One, not to support terrorism of any sort.
Okay.
Two, not to indulge in harboring any sort of those organizations which are declared terrorist as part of, or as part of the terrorist organization by the United Nations. Three,
like Al-Qaeda?
Yes, like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and many others. And 3, not to allow their land to be used against any foreign country. Because I am from Pakistan, we are equally affected from terrorism. Pakistan has laid more lives than any other country in the world. Up till now, it has been over 100,000 civilians and military people who have laid their lives in terrorism. Again, and mind you, Pakistan is the only country in the world, I'm not talking about America and the Western countries. Other than those, Pakistan is the only country in the world which has fought against terrorism without any without any boots, the foreign boots on ground. Because you see in Africa, you would find every other country has UN forces over there protecting them against terrorism, against other things. If you see other parts of the world, in the Middle East, in Iraq, and Yemen, and Syria, you would find foreign boots on ground.
There are no foreign boots on the ground now in Afghanistan.
Yes.
NATO is out, America is out, but the Taliban is in.
Yeah.
As we sit here and talk, 85% of the country is under the control of the Taliban. So that leaves 15% and an awful lot of bloodshed along the way in a short period of time. That's not right, huh?
That's not right at all.
How do you get the Taliban, who are leading the expansion, to stop the bloodshed?
Number one, what was in the mind of United States?
That's not the question. The question is, the Taliban now controls 85% of the country. Another 15%, the government could collapse.
Yes.
How do we get the Taliban to stop the bloodshed?
One, to talk with them. Okay. Use the regional countries. Use those countries which have influence on them. Use the regional countries like Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Pakistan, lot of...
Pakistan. A lot of influence on the Taliban.
No.
No?
Pakistan has not, these Talibans, Pakistan has no influence.
But they support?
No, we do not support Taliban. We do not support any rogue regimes. We do not support anybody who is fighting against any sitting government. We do not support such kind of actions. No, this is not our policy. And today, our Prime Minister had made it very, very clear that Pakistan does not support any kind of such activity, and they will not support. But yes, in the regional arena, Pakistan is ready to become part of a greater coalition which should be talking to Taliban. In Afghanistan...
Who else would be a good influence on the Taliban?
Uzbekistan.
Okay.
Uzbekistan has extremely good relationship within Afghanistan. Uzbekistan has been helping Afghanistan for quite a number of times, and they have been making roads over there. Even Tajiks have been helping Afghans a lot. So we must see the composition of the Afghan ethnic parties, Afghan ethnic people. They have Afghans of Uzbek origin, they have Afghans of Tajik origin, we have over there Afghans of Pashtun origin. Like people from Pakistan migrated there and they migrated over here. Because since we are now hosting the refugees since last 40 years, so 40 years means the third generation is born now, or even fourth generation is born in last 40 years. So I would say that Pakistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, even Russia and China, they can sit together with Taliban and they can find a solution.
We're at the end of our time. A big question: what is your message to the Western world and specifically to the American government and the American people?
Let the regional issues be solved by the people of the region. Don't try to solve them sitting outside the region. Come to the region, sit with the regional countries, talk to them, and let's find the regional issues problem within the region. And the West should not remain insecure that if this region is able to find solution within themselves, so they would be left out. No, they would not be left out. If this region is secure, as the Uzbek president said today, that this region, Central and South Asia, has got the population of more than 2 billion. So if the 2 billion population here in this area is living peaceful, it means the complete world is living in peace. So my message to the West is that let the problems of this area be resolved and solved through negotiations by the regional countries.
Excellent. Thank you so much for our conversation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hotel accommodations provided by the Hilton, Tashkent City. For information about This Is America in the World, visit our website, thisisamerica.net, or our YouTube channel, This Is America TV, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Underwriting for This Is America in the World is made possible by the Japan-America Society of Washington, D.C., the Republic of Uzbekistan, the Sultanate of Oman, the Kingdom of Morocco, the National Association for Children of Addiction, Faces and Voices of Recovery, the Forerunner Foundation, the Rotondaro Family Trust, and the Embassy Series, Uniting People Through Musical Diplomacy.